Hello, my name's Alan Larkin. I'm a director at Family Law Partners. I'm also the head of an innovation service at Family Law Lab. I'm here today. It's my very great honour to be able to speak to Rebecca and Bob from OnlyMums and OnlyDads. And we also have with us Claire Colbert and Rachel Oakes from the Family Mediation and Mentoring Service. So what I'd really like to find out about today is the Navigator service. Okay, so Rebecca, I'm going to start with you. Could you tell us where the idea for the Navigator service came from?
Yes, thank you, Alan. So over the years, Bob and I have spent many hours speaking face-to-face with parents, often at the fairly early stages of their separation. And we have been able to listen to them and give them, I guess, what our strength has been, it's been a neutral space. So we're not lawyers, we're not friends. So they felt comfortable talking to us, and we've helped them to clarify their situation and also identify possible steps for moving forward. But what we realised is that actually what we weren't able to do is to help them to understand all the different legal routes and options that are available for them. And so that's where Claire and Rachel came in.
Okay, so that's really interesting. Could I follow up with a question to you, Bob? And it's this: could you tell me why you've decided to work with family mediation and mentoring in this venture?
It's a good question, Alan. I'm going to answer in three parts, I think. The first thing, only mums and dads, we do work with a lot of family solicitors on various projects and increasingly mediators as well. It became obvious to us that Claire and Rachel are respected by their professional peers, and that's a sure sign that we're dealing with somebody who we would feel comfortable working with. The second answer, Alan, and I think Rebecca's already alluded to this, the sense of innovation that Claire and Rachel have brought to their new practice, family mediation and mentoring, is vital to us. And when the outline of their FLIM, the Family Law Information Meeting, landed on our desk, it was like a no-brainer for us that is exactly what was needed. They've innovated something that really addresses a need. The third answer is working with Claire and Rachel as we've progressed this project. It becomes clear to us that they are totally customer focused, even down to the minutiae of getting every aspect of this project right. It's always with the customer, the client in mind. And that for us ultimately is the most reassuring thing and what we need and look for.
Okay, thanks, Bob, and thank you also for explaining that FLIM stands for Family Law Information Meeting. So I think it's appropriate, isn't it, if we now turn to Claire and Rachel. So if I could direct a question to you both, could you explain a little bit more about the nature of the FLIM?
Yes, thanks, Alan. I'll answer that question. So Family Law Information Meeting, FLIM, was something Claire and I thought up as part of establishing our mediation business, because as Bob's alluded to, we felt that there was a gap really in terms of people being able to access information. We have a legal system at the moment where people go and see lawyers on an individual basis mainly. And because we're not providing legal advice as mediators, we wanted to offer a service. So for couples who, or individuals, we do offer it for individuals as well, but for couples or individuals who are struggling with, you know, what do I do next? Where do I go? What are my options after they've had the opportunity of speaking with Rebecca or Bob in terms of their general circumstances. If Rebecca and Bob feel that it would be helpful for them to get more information, which is about the legal options, what are their choices, how does it work, what do I do next? That is why we created a family law information meeting. So it's a meeting where people can meet with Claire or myself and get all of the information that they need to go away and make informed decisions about next steps, whether that's to do with divorce, separation or family disputes. So we were really excited when we joined up with Rebecca and Bob, because it's really nice to work with like-minded people trying to support individuals out there and couples who are maybe struggling with what they should do next. And what does that roadmap look like? Because it's so complicated, isn't it? There's so much out there for people on the internet. So to be able to come to somewhere and get all of that information support in one place is something we wanted to embody within the Navigator service, Alan.
Okay, that's very helpful. Claire, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that. I found it really interesting. Rachel has outlined some of the benefits of the FLIM. One thing that would be in my mind, I suppose, on behalf of your potential users or clients would be, could people progress to a mediation after a FLIM?
Absolutely. So there are lots of benefits of the FLIM, like Rachel was outlining just now. It's about getting information and neutral information. So it's not getting advice and positions. It's about understanding what the law is, what it means and how it can work. But it's not saying you must do this or you should do this or getting legal advice. It's just understanding that roadmap and how it could work for you and the different paths you can take. One of those paths will be mediation. And we can talk to people in a FLIM about how mediation works, if it's something that might be appropriate for them or not, but also talk to them about all of the other options that are available that will hopefully avoid court as kind of our last solution. That might be arbitration. That might be looking at, do we need solicitors and some kind of solicitor negotiation? That may be considering what kind of early intervention there might be available, so that all of those options are explored together in that FLIM meeting. If that's with a couple that are separating or parents that are trying to understand that roadmap, they've heard that information together. And that can really dispel some of the myths that we often hear in mediation or family lawyers hear when clients arrive at them, because they might have heard from someone else who got divorced once that this is what happens. If you've heard the information from a completely neutral source that's just giving that information to help you then make your own resolutions, it's more likely to have a powerful impact, and they'll have heard the same, which means that if it does progress into mediation, you've started off on the same page. You started off with the same level of knowledge, and you started off hopefully with all of the tools you need to think, this is the way we'd like to do it. Now, people can come alone, as we've said, and that's part of what the Navigator service is going to offer. And that doesn't mean that their partner or former spouse or the other parent couldn't also book a FLIM if they wanted to, so that they then have that same level of information to either come in to move into mediation or not. It just means all of the options are on the table so that all of that can be explored together.
That's really interesting. So I like the fact that a user could progress to a mediation, but also, absolutely, as the title of the service suggests, the Navigator service, that all options, all choices potentially subject to suitability are on offer to the user. So bearing in mind that, and that very helpful oversight on the benefits, what sort of issues could the users expect you to be able to assist them with?
I think the answer I would give to that, Alan, and they're broad answers, but again in two parts. One is the number of parents we meet who do not know where to start. You know, somebody's left, the relationship is broken down. What next is almost commonplace for the questions that only mums and dads get. And the Navigator service, I think, is sort of tailor-made for that question. The second, and I'm going to say this mainly applies to dads. I hesitate in saying that, but I think it probably does. And that's dads who have started the court process, get bogged down, get lost in the system, and are not getting the answers they expected or want, and feel they need to take a step back. And I'm finding more and more dads contacting us in that situation where things have just got wrong. And again, I think the ability of the Navigator service to host a client like that and look at all aspects of what's happened, and again, give them the legal information for moving forward and their options for moving forward. Again, I can see that being a very good service for that broad base of client.
We talk about that being jumping off the roller coaster. So we've started the ride, but there's always ways off. You know, we can press the stop button, but how can we press the stop button? And that's something that when you're on the middle of the ride, you can't see. But hopefully the Navigator service will give the tools to find the stop button.
I think also that's important, that being able to support people in taking more time, that it's actually okay to take time. Because often we find when people come to us, there are so many layers to separation, aren't there, and leaving that relationship, that sometimes we found that just through talking it through with a parent or parents and helping them understand that the different options they may take, and that you can take your time. Because quite often they feel really overwhelmed and somebody said you need to do this now, and actually you don't. So that's also something we can also encourage, and we do with parents where it's appropriate again, is you can actually take your time. And this is a fantastic service to do that, because you will leave it informed, better informed to make those choices, I think.
And I think there are more and more people out there who don't know where to turn or who to go to, but don't necessarily want to go straight to a lawyer. They may end up there, but where do they start? Where do they get information? What decisions do they need to make? And I think, as Rebecca was saying, taking the time to gather the information to then make decisions about what comes next is really important. And I think that what we're really pleased to be able to offer is a service like this, which is also reasonably priced, in terms of it makes it accessible for many more people who we know are out there and struggling with the breakdown of their relationship, and what on earth do they do, and where do they turn, and what should they be thinking about. And so we very much hope that this Navigator service will be something that helps support people through what inevitably is, sadly, a very difficult stage of their life, and help them move forward to the future in a positive way where that's relevant, depending on the circumstances of each case.
So thank you very much for that. It's a very full answer from all of you. And it sounds to me like one of the vital components of the service is providing the users with the information to make informed decisions about the next step. Can I ask you this as a supplementary question? Does it matter at what stage of the process or what life stage the users may be at, whether it's at the very beginning of a separation or a breakup, or it might be much further down the line where perhaps they've tried to get advice elsewhere, it's not worked for them, perhaps through lawyers, talking to friends. They might even be in a court process and want to look for that jumping off point, the roller coaster point, I guess. Are you available to all users, no matter what stage of the process or the life event they may be at?
I think that depends if you're asking for the wish list, Alan, and the wish list is we see people early and we avoid the stress and the trauma of maybe taking some moves that haven't helped or have made the situation more uncomfortable or more costly or more stressful for them and the children. So ideally, we'd love to see everybody as early as they feel, but that doesn't exclude anybody, however late they are in the process or whatever stage they are in the process, to say, okay, I want to jump off that roller coaster. I want to find another solution. And we'd hope they see us before the end of the ride.
Okay. That's a great answer. So I'm much clearer now in terms of that central core proposition, giving the information for the user to make a really informed decision, a really impactful decision, and hopefully the next right step. In relation to that, or in addition to that, is there anything else that you can tell me about what separating parents can expect to get out of the service. And perhaps if I direct this question first at Rachel or Claire, and then perhaps back at Bob and Rebecca.
Yeah, I think, Alan, it would be fair to say that we are professionals who have worked with people dealing with separation and divorce for a long time. People come to us at all different stages. I think what's really important is that we explain the Navigator as a Navigator service as a very bespoke service. So as you were touching on and alluding to earlier, people can come to us at any stage. People have all sorts of questions as they go through a divorce separation, whether they're dealing with it by themselves or with lawyers. So we just want to be there to help and support people in the best way that we can to try and make this as easy a process as it can possibly be and reduce stress for people. That's kind of probably part of our top aims in setting this up.
Yeah, cost and stress, that's the only thing I'd add. You know, we often talk about the cost of litigation, and along with that is the emotional and the physical stress on the whole family. In amongst that, we've got a lot of cost. Even if we're not using lawyers, we've got court fees, we've got time off work, we've got health consequences that mean we can't work, whatever that might wrap into. If we can avoid that by signposting people early to other options, then we've achieved what we wanted.
I would echo all that. Would you, Bob?
I would add one more thing from a parent perspective. Rebecca and I do work well together, and we have found parents very quickly open up to us. And I think we probably have more honest conversations with people than they might have with a professional. I say that with a question mark. We don't know, but I suspect it. And many of the parents we've dealt with, we often do this together, will say they feel less burdened at the end of a session.
And I think there's also a weight. So they've got the emotional burden and the fear and the anxiety that comes with that. But also a lot of that is the unknown. And hopefully the Navigator service is making the unknown a bit less scary, understanding the options, understanding that it's not this overwhelming, daunting option. There are some positive options. It's not always the kind of sledgehammer route we have to take.
Exactly, which is why we also encourage them to take time. So that
really important.
Yeah, so important.
I guess that what you're really saying to me as well is that accessibility is super important. You know, for you, Rebecca and Bob, you're very well known in family law circles. You're certainly accessible. So I suppose that it sounds to me like the Navigator service is a natural extension of the services that you tried to create in the past, and that this is going to be a very valuable addition, actually, to the armory of all of us as family law practitioners trying to give better solutions to our clients.
We absolutely hope so.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Would you like, while we're running, to address any other questions that you think we've missed or you might want to expand on? Because you can...
I think that dealt with it all really well.
Do you want to say anything about the cost, the pricing, or anything, if you think that the potential users would be interested in that?
We'd link through, wouldn't we, presumably, with this to the...
And I think if we're going to post it on social media, it's quite good in the narrative to say this is what it is. Listen to the blog, and this is what it costs. Here's the website to go to book. So, I think from experience, getting the most information, the most important information out there, is probably better in the narrative that attaches the video blog, because otherwise you're expecting everybody to listen to it, and people won't listen to it all the way through. Yeah. They'll listen to a bit in the beginning, maybe, and a bit in the middle, and a bit at the end. Some people hopefully will listen to all of it.